Hi, and welcome to another endorsement interview with the Times Editorial Board. Today we have two candidates for Porter County Council in the 4th District. We have Don Ensign, a Democrat seeking the office, and we have Mike Jessen, a Republican seeking the office. I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times. Also in the room with us, we have John Scheibel, our Porter County editor, and Brian Vernellis, our videographer. We probably ought to start with the easiest question of all, which is tell us a little bit about your background and what prepared you for this run. Don?
Well, my background is I'm born and raised here in Porter County. I've 63 years old, wife Terry, been married 42 years, have a son and daughter, and 4 grandchildren. Part of my background here is I've retired from Inland Steel Company. I worked for I was recruited by Carmoose Lime and went to work after taking a week off of retirement. I went back to work, and I've been with them for 12 and a half years.
Okay, and let's talk about your political service.
My service basically started as a JC, basically. Well, actually, I was for Bernard Conradi many years ago in high school, and served as a page in the State House. And then I was a JC, became pretty active at that point in time. My first run for an elected office was the Township Advisory Board. And I was elected to the Township Advisory Board for Boone Township. And at that point in time, we were trying to get a new school built, or an addition built to the school. And we couldn't do that because the state wanted us to consolidate school corporations. Fortunately, there was a little clause in the codes that said if we had got 1,100 students, we could become our own school district. And we created the MSD of Boone Township at that point in time. And I was one of the first elected school board members of MSD of Boone Township. From there, I took a little time off, get a little relaxation from things, and I was asked to run for the town board. And I've been a member of the town board now for 11 years. I've been president for 9 of those years.
Okay, Mike.
Again, my name is Mike Jessen. Married for 24 years to my wife Bridget. Proud father of 4 children, 23, 22, 19-year-old boys, and a 14-year-old daughter. Been in Union Township for 22 years, so raised my family. My children are born and raised there, and this is our home. I've had a career with Aldi Foods for 28 years, starting out as a district manager for the company, and then was promoted to the director of real estate initially, involved with purchasing property, identifying locations to put Aldi stores. Was transferred into the director of store operations position at that point, which put me more into the operational side of things at the store level, and in touch with the people that work and shop in the stores. And then in 1992 was promoted to the vice president of the Valparaiso division when the Valparaiso division opened here in town. So have been in Union Township, a part of the Valparaiso Porter County community for 22 years. My first entry into an elected position was my experience on the Union Township School Corporation. Had ran for and was successful in 2 terms of office there. So had 8 years of public experience on the school board. Left that position in June to focus and concentrate on this run. 3 years served as president of the school board. We're very proud of the work that we've done out in the district. We've had great successes, and I feel through that boardsmanship that I had with the school district, we've been able to achieve a great deal, and have been viewed as highly successful. So very proud of the public service that I've provided and the leadership that I've provided on the school board. This is my first entry into what I would call partisan politics, where you identify yourself by party and run on that behalf. So this is elected position in that way is new to me. It's been very, very interesting, and I've definitely learned a lot throughout that process. But I think with my private experience through Aldi, I had a career of 28 years with Aldi, and my 8 years experience on the school board, being intimately involved with the school district through my children and their friends for the last 18 years. I feel I have a lot to offer the position on the county council, and especially as it relates to budgeting and that sort of thing. So I'm pleased to be here and appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today.
Okay, well, welcome. One of the things that we've seen is that the county council and the county commissioners don't necessarily see eye to eye on a number of things. And so how do you resolve that, Mike?
That's I've identified that as being an issue as well, and I would say next to the budgeting or the financial crisis that the county is in, I would say that is the second most important priority that I would hope to address or contribute positively to. I believe it's a sense of boardsmanship and knowing how to work in a group, and I would lean to the experience that I had on the school board that has given me experience in that way. Along, of course, with my 28 years of experience with Aldi, we've had plenty of board meetings and things that we've discussed and resolved. For the school board, it's a bit different, I think, because it's a nonpartisan group of people. In the 8 years or 7.5 years that I served on the school board, I could not tell you the political affiliation of anyone that I served with over those 2 terms, and frankly, it didn't matter. We all had differing views on how things should be done, what should be done for the district. We had difficult times, we had budgets to wrestle with and expenses to cut and all those things that I think ultimately are going to be needed at the county level. But the 5 people worked together, set aside their differences, all had great ideas, but at the end of it would agree to do what was right for in our case, we had 1,650 students in the district. And so we worked in a collaborative way where we set aside personal differences. We certainly didn't have any political agendas behind us or personal interests. Rarely saw difficulties with ego and that sort of thing. So we took the personality out of it, and I think that's what made the school board experience so successful and also so enjoyable for me personally. So I think to take that same sort of sentiment to the county level is something that is very important. We have 3 county commissioners, we have 7 county council members, and we have a county that has roughly 165,000 residents or so. And I don't think it should be that complicated to have those 10 people in leadership, and of course understanding both groups have their responsibilities, the commissioners versus the council. Council is primarily budgetary, but I think those 10 people have a responsibility to show leadership for the county. And I don't think it would be that, or shouldn't be that difficult to determine what's best for the residents of Porter County. So the 10 of them would have to work collectively to set the vision and work together to make that happen. So that's how I would approach it. It'd be collaborative, and it'd be with a sense of professionalism and a sense of professional boardsmanship.
Okay, Don?
All right, well, through my years with Inland Steel, I have been associated with a lot of team building, worked with very many different individuals throughout my career, and you have to learn to build that team, to be a facilitator, to be able to work through issues as there's different opinions, as Mike has said, there's different opinions from many different ways coming at you. You have to be able to sit down and facilitate through that, through looking at each one's interests and saying, okay, what's the win-win situation here for that situation, or in our situation right now for the county. We have to work as a team, the commissioners, the council, and all the department heads of this county have to work as a team and a unit to be able to, number one, work through the budget problems that we have right now. They're trying to balance a budget. Number two, to achieve some of the things that have been long talked about over the last few years. And there's a tremendous amount of drainage problems in this county right now. Those need to be addressed. We have to work, commissioners and council have to work together to achieve that. We've got to solve those problems in our county. And we can't continue to grow if we don't work as a unit. I have worked with both parties as a town councilman, and as Mike has said on the school board, we had one agenda, and everybody had different opinions, but we had one agenda, and that was to build the addition back then and retain our identity so that Hebron could have their identity and so on and so forth. And believe me, there was many different opinions coming at you at that point in time. So I've been very successful in being able to work through that and to work with those people and achieve the goals that we needed to achieve.
Okay. One of the things that hasn't been addressed over the past couple of years, although it's been talked about quite a bit, is the animal shelter.
Amen.
Don.
Well, I believe that there's a large donation that's sitting out there right now towards the animal shelter. And that's one of the goals that we need to bring to fruition. There's a huge need for that right now. As I've walked through our district here in the last couple of months, there's many animals out in the county right now that's probably need to be as shelters. And our shelter is they're trying, but our shelter is in poor shape, and it needs to be expanded and needs to be done. There's money available through that donation. We need to find a way to get that money, work with the commissioners again, and bring that money and bring that building to fruition, because if it's just an issue of finding property right now, Porter County has a lot of property.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, the animal shelter issue to me is important to me. I've with my children over the years, we've spent plenty of times visiting and volunteering time out at the animal shelter. Have been out there recently as well to take a more current look on at the conditions of the shelter. And I agree. I think a new shelter is desperately needed. And my understanding, like Don's, is that there is a person who's interested in making a significant donation toward a new facility. I think that's wonderful. I think we should obviously encourage that donation and work toward identifying a location that is suitable for the new shelter. I would also say that it's important to monitor or manage what the anticipated increase in operational costs will be to this shelter. And I think the county, because of the fiscal crisis and the budgeting difficulties that we've had, it'd be difficult for me to support adding additional operating expenses in any form. And so I think if we can secure the donation, find the location, build a facility that is, worthy of Porter County, which I think the county deserves, and it's important to us. As long as it's not going to negatively impact the budget moving forward, it'd be crazy not to pursue it. So I think it is an important issue, and it's one of those issues that has been talked about for a long period of time, and it's one of those issues that, rather than talk about some of those issues for a long period of time, I'd prefer to see some effective leadership and see something get done about it.
Okay. Now here's one of the other big issues that's been talked about and nothing's been accomplished yet is the hospital money, meaning the proceeds from the sale of Porter Hospital. What do you do with it, Mike?
That is another one of those topics that you're right, not enough action has been taken up till now. And so as a result of it, we've been sitting on $160 million of proceeds and not without a plan, without a proactive plan as to how to address it. Now there are some things being discussed now with a board that's going to be created, a foundation that's going to be created locally that should help provide some direction for where that funding should go. And I would encourage creating such a board, assuming we handle it in an appropriate sort of way. I don't think it should be a rushed decision in terms of who should be on the board, what the qualifications should be on the board. I know there's been some discussion in the past about whether how many Republicans and how many Democrats should be on the board. And quite frankly, I think that's part of what has made things difficult in Porter County, where we've spent too much time talking about political affiliation as opposed to what we can do to get something accomplished. So I think the $160 million hospital proceeds was very much a gift for Porter County, something that should be handled very carefully. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, I believe, in the life of Porter County, and so I think part of it, no doubt, could be used in a foundation organization. I think there's also an opportunity there with some of the funds to create some long-needed infrastructure changes or development opportunities that can help Porter County long into the future. So some development opportunities that I think would be helpful, game changer type of avenue. So I think that's an important thing to consider. I also think that it's important not to use any of that money or any of that funding to fund operational expenses or to try to cure the immediate ills of the financial crisis that we have. I think that is something that should be a good portion of it should be protected forever for the people of Porter County. And I think it takes wise decision making. It takes appropriate leadership to make sure that it's handled appropriately. And it's an opportunity of a lifetime that I think we have to be careful with and not squander, and make sure that we take full advantage or capitalize on this gift that we've been given.
Okay, Don?
All right. As a representative of Hebron, I have approached the county council many times in the past concerning the hospital funds. Brought forth a couple of different suggestions on use of the interest money. I want to see the number one having been a lifelong resident of Porter County and my family over 100 years here, I look at that money from the hospital revenue not as quite as a gift. It is a wonderful thing to have, and it's a gift in that way, but over the last 100 years of the existence of the county hospital, everyone has paid for that hospital. And that money needs to be utilized. It needs to be protected long term. But it also needs to benefit all the residents of Porter County that have invested their futures, their lives into that hospital, and generations before them that have invested in that hospital. That money needs to be used to make this county, continue to make this quality of life for this county better. I have looked at and brought a proposal, and one of the biggest problems for the investment of the money is the state regulations that say how you can invest that money. If we need to go downstate and lobby to get some better ways to be able to invest that money to generate larger revenues from that money, that's what we need to do. I'm more than willing to travel down I-65 and lobby down there for this. And I will spend my time trying to do that if that's what becomes necessary. As Mike said, the the foundation that they're looking to create, I think is a good idea. Once that foundation's created, how they're picked, and I have to agree, I don't think it should be a political thing. It should be a wise thing of experienced people for investments to be made that'll be appointed to that foundation. There's opportunities to invest that money into, and hopefully the regulations don't prohibit that, or in the foundation, maybe they can invest it in a different way. Opportunities, say, to put part of that money into an annuity, and you'll draw revenue from that each year from that annuity. Yes, that will deplete at the end of, say, 20 years. But you take another portion and you invest that into an annuity that will grow over that 20 years, and the net result will basically be a gain in revenue. And you can do that, and then there's $160 million there, plus $11 million in interest. The animal shelter, some of the things, 911 issues that we still have that need to be addressed, and possibly some of the drainage issues can be addressed through some of that revenue sharing. And again, I'd like to see, especially because I've represented the town of Hebron for many years, all the towns and cities with the tax caps need revenue. If we take a portion of that money and we loan that out to the towns and cities at low interest rates, they can do types of the infrastructure needs to let our county grow, attract more businesses, attract revenue that way. Your tax base increases, your budget problems it all goes hand in hand. So that's how I'd like to see us approach the hospital funds.
Okay. You know that the budget wasn't really balanced this year. The revenue wasn't there to support the spending that was planned. How would you have handled that if you were in office already, Don?
Number one, you have to live within your means. We all in our own households have a budget that we have to stay within. If we don't, we're in big trouble. And the same thing goes for our towns, same thing goes for our county. We have to get this budget balanced. We can't spend more than we take in. I know sometimes there's hard decisions that have to be made, but those hard decisions have to be made. I'm very proud of the fact of working in the town of Hebron, and we're just getting ready to pass our budget. Our budget will be balanced. We have maintained and not been in the red at all, and we have to operate within that budget. And sometimes we're sitting there and we'd really love to do something, but you can't do it. Maybe next year. Let's make a plan. And that's the problem for the council right now, that they have to get this budget. One of the things I would have wanted to look at is the insurance. Part of the huge deficit right now is the insurance from the budget from last year. It should have been a $43 million, I think, budget, and they passed a $38 million budget. There's the difference right now. They did, and again, it takes all of the commissioners and the council to agree to that, but insurance should have been looked at. Changes in my own job and probably in Mike's job, insurance changes every year. You have to look at your insurance costs, and you have to, how can we cut these costs? How can we deal with this? The increases continue to come. How can we give our employees a quality insurance, but how can we cut these costs? That's a big part of this pie that needs to be really looked at deeply at this point. The other thing I would do is I would have went to each department head and sat down with them and said, okay, what are the really unnecessary expenditures that are going on in our department? Nobody wants to admit it, but do we have a whole stockpile of things over here we've expended money on that aren't being utilized? We have large inventories that could be reduced to as needed, or just, okay, if we use these two, at this point it's a trigger point to say, okay, we're going to order two more. We've still got one on the shelf, but we're going to order two more now to keep three in inventory instead of a larger inventory at the ways. Look at each department to reduce those inventories and things like that. Not people, because necessity says you need the people. And the first time, it makes it real easy to say, I'm going to cut people. Well, people have a livelihood. They also pay taxes. How can we look at things differently and say we can save money here? Those are the things I'd try to do and look at to balance that budget.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, as I've talked to residents throughout the South County, one of the things that they're convinced of, and I am as well, is that oftentimes in government we make things more complicated than necessary. And to me, I think the budget although it is a complex issue, I think we've made it more difficult than it needs to be. Budgeting is very simple. You have revenue coming in and you have expenses going out, and you have to make sure that those two balance, or you have more revenue than expenses. And my budgeting experience, which on a couple of different levels, I'm highly involved with the financing of my church. We have a $1.7 million budget there. The budgeting that I oversaw in the school district, it was $15 to $20 million on an annual basis. And then the experience that I had with Aldi, with a budget that far exceeds the Porter County budget many times over. So you can't spend more than you receive, and I think that's the simple reality of it. I think if you look at what we're spending money on, I would go to each of the departments, review their budgets thoroughly to find out what unnecessary expenses are included, and I'm convinced there are unnecessary expenses in each of the budgets. The big ticket item that is the one that the county is currently wrestling with is the insurance cost, as Don mentioned, and I think that's in the neighborhood of $8 million of the budget is geared toward insurance. So I know the county is working on that, and I'm appreciative of that fact and anxious to find out the results. Because I think although we can cut in different departments and save some expense in that way, none of that matters a whole lot if we don't tackle the biggest issue, the biggest expense, the biggest growing expense, and that's the insurance cost. So you can't address the budgeting concern without addressing the insurance piece of that. And in budgeting, whether it be through the church or through the school or through the private sector experience that I have, you have to be willing to adapt and adjust, and you have to be willing to cut and make difficult decisions to live within your means. Even at the church level, we're faced with a situation where there's times where revenue is not meeting budgeted expectation. So even in the church setting, we have to take a look at, do we have an alternative budget plan in place, and start talking about how are we going to get our expenses in line. The school the school district was faced with many of the same issues that the county is faced with and municipalities are faced with, in that we're getting less money from the state based on the tax caps. And so we were faced with that issue in Union Township, in the school corporation. We were forced to make difficult decisions with laying teachers off, cutting programs to make sure that we live within our means. The state requires that we have a balanced budget, and for every balance that I've been involved with, whether it be through church or through school or through private experience with my 28 years at Aldi, we've always had a balanced budget, and along the way have been willing to adapt when necessary, when revenue falls short, because there are times, for whatever reason, that'll happen. So as we were forced to deal with that at the school level, we made the necessary cuts. We had balanced budgets. We continued to have a rainy day fund, and then ultimately, what the community decided to do, and I'm an absolute advocate of public education. Thoroughly invested 18 years of my life in Union Township schools, and we're pleased that through the referendum process, we passed a referendum allowing for additional taxes to help fund the school, and that was overwhelmingly desired from the people. When I think the election was 58 to 42% in favor of funding the schools. The schools in Union Township, like in many areas throughout Porter County, we should be proud of our schools. The schools in many of those communities are the lifeblood of the community. Union Township specifically, we don't have a strong commercial presence, just a few businesses, but we have a great community, and a lot of that is due in part to the effective schools that we have there. People are drawn to Union Township because we have a strong sense of family commitment, strong schools, and we have seen terrific success in residential building out in Union Township because they want to be part of that community. And I think a lot of that has to do with the schools, and that's why they were so supportive of the referendum. So with with that, we have to make sure that we live within our means, adjust when necessary, and in the business world, that's how it's done. 28 years of my experience with Aldi, we had balanced budgets, and then be sure that we had expectations on a monthly basis and on an annual basis, quarterly basis, to say that these are the expectations in terms of revenue, these are the expectations of expenses, and then in the private sector, it's also these are the expectations in terms of profit on top of that. And so we live by that rule, and with my budgeting experience, that's something that I feel like I'm highly qualified to wrestle with. And without a doubt, the budgeting crisis that's in Porter County is the number one issue that needs to be addressed. Tough decisions need to be made, and we need leadership that is willing to make those decisions.
Okay, Don, you mentioned if you don't have the money right away that you'll plan for it. What do you see as the biggest unmet need for the county that you'd like to plan for?
Well, the biggest unmet need right now is the drainage issues. There's approximately $30 million worth of Dave Burris and the team that's been working on drainage issues in the county have identified many, many issues and many areas that need to be addressed. And approximately $30 million is needed to address all those issues. A plan needs to be made of how we're going to address those issues and pay for them. There's just not the revenue there to do that. So through bonding, through first the investment of the hospital funds, and try to figure out how you can stage all that so that you can generate some revenue. There's a possibility that you could, with that revenue, you could utilize that to create a bond for the drainage. There are drainage fees that are paid right now. There's a revenue that you could address to say, okay, we're going to take a bond, plan that this is going to be a long-term thing, and we're going to bond for this and start to pay it through this stream. So you've got to look at each and every slot and say, okay, we've got this much here, we can do the bonding, we can do this kind of work. One of the things I want to see, and I will push for if elected, is a comprehensive plan for this county. We need a long-term comprehensive plan that says, as growth happens, this is a trigger point that addresses this area. You've got to supply your infrastructure to that area. You've got to, through the planning commission, they've got to say to a subdivision that you're going to have retention, detention that is going to handle the flow that's, now that you're covering this land, it's going to handle that flow and slowly release it so that we don't impact the farms, we don't impact the Kankakee River, which I'm very close to, and South Haven just had huge drainage problems in the last few weeks in the rains that have happened. Hebron, we're working with Dave Burris right now because we can resolve our problem in Hebron, but we've still got to dump it to the Henderson ditch, to the Dog Lake ditch, and that's the county. Those have to be, they've done a lot of work down there. Former County Commissioner Carol Knobloch and the other commissioners have spent approximately $300,000 plus down in South County to try to address some of the issues. But as you move, you always have that next bottleneck. So that's the long-term plans that need to be made to help find ways to fund it, number one, and to do that work. And a comprehensive plan can encompass not only drainage, but the other infrastructure needs. This county's going to grow. It's growing by leaps and bounds. Even through the recession, we've seen not the same impact in other counties. We've continued to grow in way, and we've got to address that. We can't, I don't want to stop growth at all, but we've got to address that to deal with it.
Okay, Mike?
Again, the highest of priorities for me is the budget crisis. the drainage issue is something that no doubt needs to be addressed, and I think when we went through the South Haven area and saw the flooding, it almost seemed as if it was somewhere different than Porter County, frankly, because it was so devastating for people there, right in our own neighborhood. So the drainage has to be addressed. I agree with Don in the sense that this county needs to be much more proactive in their planning, and it shouldn't take 100-year plus rain and flooding to realize that we have drainage issues that need to be addressed. And so I think if we can create a vision or that master plan and proactively appreciate the problems that ultimately are going to be here, we'll be better prepared to handle them when they do in fact arrive. I think the other issue that should be addressed is job creation. And I think people need good jobs. They want good jobs. And I think as a community and as Porter County, we need to do what we can to develop the infrastructure, to attract businesses, to provide good jobs for our people. And I think that's definitely one of the ways that we can draw people to Porter County and also help our existing residents. And so I think we need to address those infrastructure needs, do what we can to attract businesses who are going to provide good jobs, which helps the economy. In Porter County, we enjoy, in my estimation, a wonderful quality of life. The diversity of the landscape that's in Porter County is unique compared to any other county or area that I'm familiar with. We have the lakefront, which is beautiful, provides incredible recreational outdoor activities. We have the medium-sized cities, Portage, Valpo, Chesterton, which offer tremendous amenities for all the people throughout the area. We have small towns, Hebron and Couch, wonderful small towns that offer their unique charm and wonderful places to live for those people. And then, of course, we have rural area throughout the county as well, and agriculture is something that we all enjoy and appreciate as we're spending time out in that area. So the diversity of landscape that we have in Porter County, I think, is extremely unique as compared to anything else that I've ever seen. And whatever we can do to preserve that landscape, because I think there's a need for all of it, whatever we can do to preserve that landscape and continue to increase the quality of life for our residents, that's our duty. And so whether it be job creation, whether it be fixing the most immediate pressing emergency issues, which those, in my estimation, should have been planned for and been taken care of along the way, we need to do whatever we can to just improve the overall quality of life for the people of Porter County. We're incredibly blessed with a county that offers so much to its residents, all the while doing everything we can to also preserve the low tax base. So we have all that and an extremely low tax base as compared to other neighboring counties, let's say.
Okay. John, did you have questions?
Mike, you mentioned having, a vision for Porter County. So what is your vision for the county and how does it play out through the county, your role on the county council?
Yeah, for me, the vision for Porter County touches on what I just mentioned about the quality of life. The quality of life that we enjoy as Porter County residents is something that I think is very special, and and we live in a wonderful county, and I would do everything within my power to make sure that we preserve that quality of life and also further enhance it. And that may be through recreational opportunities, that may be through more green space, that may be through providing or attracting additional companies to provide good jobs so people can appreciate the benefits that we have to offer, all the while keeping the tax base low. The educational system that we have in Porter County is, I would view it as second to none from a very biased perspective, but we have high-performing schools, large schools, small schools, all do very, very well as compared to the rest of the state. We're highly ranked in education, and so I think my vision would be to preserve all that and do what I can to make sure that we further enhance it by creating those jobs, creating those green spaces, helping the public schools continue to succeed and work on that success. On the county council level, the county council truly, their statutory responsibility is the budgeting process. So if we don't have our fiscal house in order, and if we don't correct this fiscal crisis that we're currently in, all those things that I mentioned are at risk. And so my initial focus and the highest of priorities, as I mentioned, would be correcting the budget, making sure that we live within our means so that we can continue to provide the wonderful services that we have for our people without unnecessarily increasing taxes. So I think that's the primary function or opportunity that I would provide to the council is the leadership and the effectiveness to make the tough decisions to get the budget in order, and then also make sure that we provide all the services. And then I think it's also the next step outside of the council is for the council members to reach out to the commissioners to further engage them and have them work in that collaborative effort. So it's the 7 council members, the 3 commissioners working together, not separate, not divided, but help the commissioners also understand what our vision is for the county. The commissioners statutorily develop the vision for the county, but I think the county council members working with them can help enhance that. So rather than 3 people determining what that vision for the county should be, you have 10 people who serve as leaders throughout the county. Who I'm convinced with 10 people and 10 views, you can get better results than with 3. So I would say working together with the county commissioners would be my contribution or my effort to say let's do what's best for the future of Porter County.
All right, well, my vision is for the county is in a lot of ways here. Number one, as I've said, one of the first things I want to see is a comprehensive plan developed. Hebron, we developed a comprehensive plan and visions for the next 25 years for Hebron, which is an ongoing changing vision, but the comprehensive plan has been put in place there. I serve on the NERPC board, and I've spent 11 years on NERPC. I'm on the executive board. They've built their 2040 plan for transportation. Our county needs the same type of vision and comprehensive plan. Bringing the commissioners, the council together, the planning commission, the tourism bureau, the parks and recreation for the county need to all be part of that comprehensive plan. Hebron has been working with the tourism bureau and to try to make sure that and hopefully Tuesday night we'll look we are going to hopefully go into an interlocal agreement to help develop the Dunes Kankakee Trail all the way down to Couts and to Hebron. We need to attract that recreation. The Dunes is, again, a wonderful spot, but our Kankakee River is another beautiful place to visit and be, and it's underutilized. It used to be utilized tremendously. Now it's underutilized. You can have float trips. You can have canoeing. You can bring the people down for bicycle trails. And then that will increase economic development, attract more people to our county to live in, again, for the quality of life, as Mike has said. We all love the peacefulness and the quiet that we have. But with that recreation, there's more to enjoy and more to bring people to our area. When I took office in Hebron, we created our economic development group there. They have achieved a lot of things in Hebron through them, and we were part of the first part of the Porter County Alliance when it was formed. We were a charter member there. I want to see our economic development group from the county be able to start to put some of the jobs cabinet. There's been all sorts of different meetings and all sorts of different things done, but we need to move through those and start utilizing some of the jobs cabinet things to build that economic growth. And again, it builds your tax base. It builds your your job creation and your everything goes hand in hand. So again, I think the comprehensive plan is ultimately important to this. The alliance, the economic development group from the county needs to be really utilized. And again, through the budget process, you've got to be able to find ways to fund that and make sure that, again, you're not spending more than you're taking in, but we need to find those ways. And it takes a lot of thoughtfulness and it takes a lot of work. And I'm there for the work.
John, if I could expound on that for just a second, as I've spent time talking with residents and knocking on doors throughout this process, I've spent time knocking on doors outside of Couts. I spent time knocking on doors in the far western portion of the district, which is actually in Lake of Four Seasons, which is part of Porter County. And the one thing that I've learned through this process is, in talking with people, is what they want as a vision for Porter County. Number one, they want to be listened to. They want to have people who are willing to come out and talk to them and have the skills and ability and willingness to listen to them and their needs, their vision for the county. What I've learned through this process is that the people that I've talked to, generally speaking, they're tired. They're disengaged from the political process. They're in this particular election, I think we'll be fortunate if we have 2 of 10 registered voters participating in the process. To me, that's shameful. But I understand why the electorate is not any more engaged than they are. They're tired. They are tired of partisan politics, I believe. They're tired of politics of personality. They are tired of criminal investigations. They're tired of reading terrible things about leadership in the newspapers. What they want is they want to be listened to. They want to be able to have someone in office who can effectively lead, who can effectively manage, someone who can represent their views effectively, and get things done for the county. And so, as I've gone through the district and talked with people, they're telling me they want a fresh perspective. They want people in county leadership positions that are willing to get the job done and do what's right for the county, and all the other nuances that go along with the political process. Quite frankly, they're finished with that. They want to see some action. And so, as we talk about our vision for the county and what we would do, one thing that I would like to address is to make sure that we truly go out and solicit from the 165,000 residents throughout Porter County, ask them what they want to see done in their county. They play a major role, and it's not for a few select people to make those decisions. They should play a part, and we should respect their desire to be involved. And then hopefully they'll have a greater appreciation for the political process in general, and we can get them further engaged with it, because they should be much more involved, much more a part of it than they currently are.
Okay. We're at the point where we're running out of time, so we have to ask the basic question, which is, what's the difference between you and your opponent, Don?
Well, to answer that question, I can only answer as myself. Again, as I've said, I believe that service to community is the best work of life, and I have done that for many, many years. I have been a Scoutmaster and part of the Boy Scouts of America for 30 years. My son's an Eagle Scout. I ran the Little League. Prior to my political things, I've ran the Little League and worked with a lot of different organizations through the JCs to try to do good. And that's my goal here, is to do what's right for this county. I care about this county. My family lives here. I'll be buried right down the road down here. And I intend to do everything I can to see our county continue to have the quality of life that I've grown up in, and I want my children and grandchildren to be able to continue to grow up in. And I care about everybody that lives here. I want everyone to succeed here in this county, and that's my goals.
Okay, Mike?
And first of all, I'd like to say, Don, I've appreciated going through this, being a neophyte, going through this experience with you as my opponent, because it's been a real pleasure, and it's been a great experience. So I appreciate that and all the work that you've done up till now. You know, for me, I think what I bring to the table is experience in the public sector, as well as my private experience with my 28-year career with Aldi. The things that need to be addressed at the county level, the skill sets that I have and the business acumen that I have, I think puts me in a terrific position to address some of those difficulties and help prepare or set the vision for Porter County in the future. And so I like Don, want to preserve the quality of life of Porter County and all its residents. We should be very proud of the community that we live in, and we should do everything we can to preserve that and make it better. And I think with my skill sets, my leadership, my ability to make tough decisions when necessary. Throughout my career with Aldi, I hired hundreds of people and promoted hundreds of people. I've terminated people when necessary, which is never a fun part of the position, of course. Made necessary cuts in expenses as needed. And through my leadership, am fully prepared to make the tough decisions that are necessary to move the county forward, and that's my hope to do.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have with this editorial endorsement interview. Thank you for viewing.